All right, let's go back to one of our top stories now. The NPA saying today that they will have a task team for the Truth and Reconciliation. They have appointed Advocate Dumisa Ntsebeza to lead the court-ordered inquiry into failures to prosecute Truth and Reconciliation Commission cases. This comes after families of some apartheid activists have been calling on the NPA to act on evidence tabled during the TRC proceedings. Let's get some reaction on this with Imitiaz Cajee, who's Ahmed Timol's nephew. Imitiaz, thank you for making time for us this evening. Do you think this decision by the NPA is the step in the right direction?
Good evening, Clement. Most certainly. I mean, it's long overdue. I mean, the allegations of political interference had risen in the mid-2000s when the former NDPP Vusi Pikoli and Anton Ackerman deposed affidavits in the Nokutula Similani matter, Clement, where they alleged that political interference hindered them from prosecuting TRC cases. And then once again, after the Rodriguez judgment on the 12th of October 2017, when Judge Palimote ruled that my uncle Ahmed Timol did not commit suicide, but was murdered in police detention, and that murder-accused João Rodriguez be charged for his conduct in his role in the death of my uncle. Once again, the head of the Priority Crimes Litigation Unit at the NPA, Tuari Pretorius, and his deputy Chris McAdam, Clement, again deposed affidavits, where they alleged that there was political interference that hindered them from prosecuting TRC cases. And it was on that basis that the full bench of the South Gauteng High Court in June 2019 ruled that this matter must be investigated further and the conduct of the two officials be investigated by the NDPP. Clement, in February 2020, I'd written an open letter to the NDPP Shamila Batoy, reminding her about the ruling made by the full bench of the South Gauteng High Court. And now in January 2023, we finally hear that the NPA has appointed a senior counsel, Advocate Dumisa Ntsebeza, to investigate political interference in post-TRC prosecutions.
And that was in 2019, Imitiaz, when that ruling was made. You wrote a letter in 2020, and only action is being taken in 2023. Surely this didn't require much from the NPA. It required them to appoint a capable team to look into the allegations. What hope do you have that we are going to somehow get to the bottom of who was behind, if indeed there was political interference, all of that interference? Do you have hope we will finally get to the bottom of this and know the truth?
Well, look, for the very first time, Clement, something has been done. Obviously, we are not happy with the lengthy time delay, and that the political officials must take accountability for not instituting post-TRC prosecutions since 2003, because that is when the final TRC reports were handed over. And history will judge all those in political office from that particular time. We, unfortunately, as families, Clement, don't have a choice. Our hands have been tied. Loved ones continue to pass on, key witnesses pass on, perpetrators pass on, and hence we welcome the initiative by the NPA to institute this particular process of SC being appointed. And we hope and pray that Dumisa Ntsebeza, based on his experience working as a commissioner at the TRC, sitting like us as families, watching the processes unfolding since 2003 and not moving, will do justice to this very, very important matter in post-democratic South Africa, and that he will get to the bottom of what really transpired.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of the former TRC commissioners who wrote a letter to the president a few years ago asking why government has failed to implement the recommendations of that commission over 27 years later. I know that we still don't know the scope of this process that will be led by Advocate Dumisa Ntsebeza, but I imagine there are witnesses that will be called in. At the very least, the senior counsel will interview some people. I think Vusi Pikoli is one that comes to mind. Are there people that you think will be helpful to this work that will be done by Dumisa Ntsebeza?
Yes, Clement. Look, based on my assessment of the press media release issued by the NPA, I think there are three critical taskings. The one is for Dumisa Ntsebeza to ensure that never again is there political interference from the executive or any other entity that will hinder the NPA from prosecuting post-TRC cases. I think that's the first one. The second is that if during the course of his investigations, he ascertains that there were individuals that were unable to institute and to do their work as prosecutors, then he's going to take the matter further and provide a finding to the NDPP. I mean, that is my understanding of what the scope of the senior counsel is in this particular matter. And if it then means that they are complicit, then in terms of the NPA, they must be charged accordingly. Yeah. So those are the three critical areas based on my analysis of what will unfold, Clement.
Yeah. Lastly, what progress have we seen in the NPA picking up some TRC cases? I know at some point they enhanced some capacity within the NPA, appointing about 25 prosecutors and 40 investigators within various divisions to deal with TRC cases. Since then, have we seen proper progress in picking up some of those cases?
Look, without a doubt, I mean, we must give them credit that there has been some progress. Obviously, many, many years later, and there are many, many hindrances. For example, when you refer to them appointing investigating officers, the reality is that they're appointing apartheid-era investigating officers to institute investigations against their former colleagues and their superiors, basically against their own apartheid regime. But again, we don't have a choice. We've got to work with them. And that is why we as the Apartheid-era Victims Family Group, Clement, are working closely with the NPA and the DPCI to make sure that we provide them with information as quickly as possible to ensure that families in their lifetime can see some forms of truth and justice. But Clement, to be fair, we need to do a thorough introspection of the TRC. And for that, we need to go back to the negotiations that unfolded, the events prior to the TRC, and then most critically, the events post the TRC, which all have an overall bearing. But the reality is that many, many families throughout the country want their cases to be reopened, want investigations to happen, and in their lifetime to see truth and justice for their loved ones.
Yeah, Imitiaz Cajee, Ahmed Timol's nephew, thank you for making time for us this evening.